Hey everyone, welcome back to our podcast. I'm Sarah, and I'm here with my good friend Alex. Today, we're diving into a topic that's super relevant for so many people: how to speak English with confidence. Right, Alex?
Absolutely, Sarah. This is a topic that's close to both our hearts because we know how challenging it can be to learn and communicate effectively in a new language, especially English. But with the right mindset and techniques, it's something anyone can master.
Exactly. So, let's start from the beginning, Alex. Why do you think people find it so difficult to speak English, even if they've been learning it for years?
Great question, Sarah. I think one of the biggest reasons is fear of making mistakes, fear of being judged, and even fear of not being understood. This fear can really hold people back from practicing, which is essential for improvement.
Oh, I totally agree. I remember when I was learning a new language, that fear was a huge barrier for me. It's like, you know the words, you understand the grammar, but when it comes time to speak, your mind just goes blank.
Exactly, and that's so common. People often underestimate how much our mindset influences our ability to learn and use a new language. If you're constantly worried about making mistakes, you're less likely to take the necessary risks that lead to improvement.
Right? And making mistakes is such a crucial part of the learning process. I always tell people that every mistake is a step closer to fluency. The key is to not let those mistakes discourage you, but to learn from them.
That's a great point, Sarah. I think another big hurdle is the idea that you have to be perfect to speak. But the truth is, even native speakers make mistakes. It's all about communication, getting your point across, even if it's not perfect.
Yes, I love that. Communication over perfection. When you focus on being understood rather than being perfect, it takes a lot of pressure off. And honestly, most people are very understanding and patient when someone is learning a new language.
Definitely. And speaking of communication, one effective way to build confidence is through conversation practice. The more you speak, the more natural it becomes. What's your take on that, Sarah?
100% agree, Alex. Practice is key. And not just any practice, consistent, meaningful practice. I think it's important to engage in conversations that interest you, where you can use vocabulary that's relevant to your life. That way, it doesn't feel like a chore.
Yes, and it's also important to practice in a variety of contexts. Talk to friends, family, or even yourself. Just getting comfortable with the sound of your own voice in English can make a huge difference.
Oh, absolutely. Talking to yourself might sound silly, but it's actually a fantastic way to build confidence. You can practice speaking out loud, whether it's describing what you're doing, narrating your day, or even thinking in English.
Exactly. And for those who might feel shy about speaking with others, starting with self talk is a great stepping stone. It allows you to practice without the pressure of an audience, and it helps solidify your language skills.
That's such a good point, Alex. And once you're comfortable with self talk, you can gradually start incorporating more social interactions. For example, you could start with small talk with a neighbor or colleague.
Yes, small talk is a great way to ease into speaking English with others. It doesn't have to be deep or complex. Just a simple, how are you? Or what do you think about the weather? Can really help build your confidence.
Definitely. And it's important to remember that everyone's learning journey is different. Some people might pick up speaking skills quickly, while others take more time. The key is to be patient with yourself and keep pushing forward.
Absolutely, Sarah. Patience and persistence are crucial. It's also important to celebrate small victories along the way. Maybe you successfully ordered a coffee in English, or you had a short conversation with a stranger. Those are all wins.
Yes, celebrating those small wins can really boost your motivation. It's all about progress, not perfection. And speaking of progress, another tip I always give is to surround yourself with English as much as possible.
That's a great tip, Sarah. Immersing yourself in the language can make a huge difference. Listen to English music, watch movies or shows in English, and try to think in English whenever you can. The more exposure you get, the more natural it will start to feel.
Exactly. And when you combine that immersion with regular speaking practice, you'll start to notice improvements in your fluency and confidence. It's all about creating an environment where English is a natural part of your
I
day.
completely agree. And I think another important aspect is to not be too hard on yourself. There will be days when speaking English feels like a struggle, and that's okay. What's important is that you keep going, even when it feels difficult.
Absolutely. Language learning is a journey, not a destination. There will be ups and downs, but every bit of practice is bringing you closer to fluency. And it's important to enjoy the process too. Have fun with it.
Yes, having fun is key. When you enjoy what you're doing, you're more likely to stick with it. And speaking of fun, one technique I love is role playing. Pretend you're in different situations, like at a restaurant, in a meeting, or even at an airport, and practice what you would say.
That's a fantastic idea, Alex. Role playing can be so helpful because it prepares you for real life situations. Plus, it's a fun way to practice and get creative with your language use.
Exactly, and it's also a great way to practice specific vocabulary and phrases that you might need in those situations. It makes your practice more practical and relevant to your everyday life.
Absolutely. And as you practice, don't be afraid to experiment with different expressions and phrases. English is a flexible language, and there are often multiple ways to say the same thing. Trying out different options can help you find what feels most natural for you.
That's so true, Sarah. There's no one right way to speak English. It's all about finding your own voice and expressing yourself in a way that feels authentic. And remember, the more you practice, the more comfortable and confident you'll become.
Exactly, Alex. And speaking of confidence, let's talk a bit about how to handle situations where you might not understand something or when you're struggling to find the right words. What do you suggest?
Great topic, Sarah. I think the first thing to remember is that it's okay to not understand everything. It's perfectly fine to ask for clarification or to ask someone to repeat what they said. People are usually very willing to help if you just ask.
Absolutely. Asking questions shows that you're engaged and eager to learn, and it's a natural part of communication. You can say things like, "Could you please repeat that?" Or, "I'm not sure I understand. Could you explain it differently?"
Yes, and another helpful strategy is to paraphrase what the other person said. For example, you could say, "So, you're saying that," and then restate what you understood. This not only shows that you're actively listening, but also helps confirm that you're on the right track.
That's a great tip, Alex. Paraphrasing is such a useful skill, and it also gives you an opportunity to practice using different sentence structures and vocabulary. It's a win win.
Exactly. And when it comes to finding the right words, don't be afraid to pause and take a moment to think. It's better to take a few seconds to gather your thoughts than to rush and get flustered.
Yes, and don't worry about those little pauses. Native speakers do it all the time. It's totally normal to take a moment to find the right words, especially when you're speaking in a second language.
Absolutely, Sarah. And sometimes, if you can't think of the exact word, it's okay to describe what you mean using the words you do know. Often, the person you're speaking with will understand and might even help you find the word you're looking for.
That's so true, Alex. Describing what you mean is a great strategy, and it also helps you practice using different vocabulary and thinking creatively. The important thing is to keep the conversation going, even if it's not perfect.
Exactly, Sarah. The goal is communication, not perfection. And the more you practice, the easier it will become. Over time, those pauses will get shorter, and you'll find that words start coming to you more naturally.
Definitely. It's all about building that confidence and developing a natural rhythm in your speech. And remember, everyone starts somewhere. Even the most fluent speakers were beginners at one point.
That's such a good reminder, Sarah. We all have to start somewhere, and every bit of practice helps you move forward. The key is to stay positive and keep practicing, even on the days when it feels challenging.
Absolutely, Alex. And it's so important to be kind to yourself along the way. Learning a new language is an incredible achievement, and every step you take is something to be proud of.
Couldn't agree more, Sarah. So, for everyone listening, remember, practice regularly, be patient with yourself, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Speaking English is a skill, and like any skill, It gets better with practice.
Hey, Alex, have you heard about Maya? She's this amazing girl I met recently who's really dedicated to improving her English speaking skills.
Oh, really? I haven't heard of her. What's her story?
Maya moved to an English speaking country for college about a year ago. She knew some English before she came, but she wanted to become fluent because she was majoring in international business and needed to communicate effectively.
That sounds like a big challenge. How did she go about it?
She had to start from scratch in many ways. At first, she was really shy about speaking. She'd often avoid conversations because she was afraid of making mistakes. But she realized that she needed to push past her fears to really improve.
That's a common issue for many learners. What did she do to overcome her shyness?
One of the first things Maya did was to set small, achievable goals. She started with simple tasks like greeting people and making small talk. Gradually, she increased the complexity of her interactions, like participating in group discussions and giving presentations.
Setting small goals is a great strategy. Did she have any other methods to practice?
Yes, she used a variety of methods. Maya started by joining a conversation club where she could practice speaking in a supportive environment. She also began reading out loud from her textbooks and even started recording herself to track her progress.
That's impressive. Did she face any particular challenges along the way?
Absolutely. One major challenge was dealing with her fear of making mistakes. She was always worried about how others would perceive her English. But she learned to focus more on the message she wanted to convey rather than on perfect grammar.
That's a great approach. How did she stay motivated throughout the process?
Maya kept herself motivated by celebrating her achievements, no matter how small. She kept a journal of her progress and set up a reward system for herself. For example, she treated herself to a nice meal after successfully completing a big presentation.
Rewards can definitely help with motivation. Did Maya also use any media to improve her speaking?
Yes, she did. Maya loved watching English movies and listening to podcasts. She paid close attention to the way native speakers talked and tried to mimic their pronunciation and intonation. She even started discussing what she watched with friends to practice speaking.
That sounds like a fun way to practice. Did she find it difficult to maintain consistency?
At times, yes. But Maya created a daily routine where she practiced speaking for a set amount of time each day. She made it a habit, and it became easier to stick with it. Plus, she always reminded herself of her end goals, which helped her stay focused.
It's amazing how dedicated she was. What's she up to now?
Maya is now fluent in English and has become quite confident in her speaking abilities. She's actively participating in meetings, leading discussions, and even mentoring other international students who are working on their English skills.
That's such an inspiring story. It really shows that with dedication and the right strategies, anyone can improve their language skills.
Exactly. Maya's journey is a great reminder that progress comes with persistence and practice. It's all about stepping out of your comfort zone and making the most of every opportunity to speak and learn.
It sounds like Maya's journey was really transformative. Did she have any particular resources or strategies that were especially effective for her?
Maya found that engaging in real life conversations was incredibly effective. She didn't rely on any particular resource, but she made an effort to interact with native speakers as often as possible. She also participated in local community events and volunteer activities where English was the primary language.
That's a great way to immerse oneself in the language. Did she have any tips for someone who might be just starting their English learning journey?
Definitely. Maya often mentioned that starting small and gradually increasing the complexity of interactions was crucial. She also stressed the importance of not being afraid to make mistakes. According to her, mistakes are an important part of learning and should be viewed as opportunities for growth.
What about pronunciation and accent? Did Maya work on those aspects as well?
Yes, she did. Maya worked on her pronunciation by practicing with language partners and listening to native speakers. She also made use of resources like pronunciation guides in her textbooks and mimicked the accents she heard in movies and TV shows. She focused on not just the sounds, but also the rhythm and intonation of speech.
That's interesting. I've heard that working on accents can sometimes be tricky. Did Maya encounter any difficulties with that?
She did find it challenging at first. Accents can be hard to master, and she sometimes struggled with certain sounds that were different from her native language. However, she was patient and persistent. She practiced regularly and sought feedback from native speakers to improve her accent over time.
How did she manage to balance all these different practices and still find time for her studies and other activities?
It required a lot of time management and dedication. Maya created a structured schedule that included designated times for different aspects of her English practice. She integrated her language practice into her daily routine, such as listening to podcasts while commuting or reading aloud during breaks.
That's impressive. Did she ever feel overwhelmed with all the practice she was doing?
There were times when she felt overwhelmed, especially when juggling her studies and social life. But Maya learned to prioritize and set realistic expectations for herself. She made sure to balance intense study sessions with relaxation and leisure activities to avoid burnout.
It's great that she found a balance. Did Maya have any advice on how to stay consistent with practice, especially on days when motivation was low?
Maya recommended setting up a routine and sticking to it as much as possible. Even on days when motivation was low, she would do at least a small amount of practice, like 10 minutes of speaking or listening. She believed that consistency, even in small doses, helped maintain progress.
That's a valuable tip. I guess even a little bit of practice can make a big difference over time.
Absolutely. Maya also mentioned the importance of staying positive and focusing on the progress made rather than the challenges faced. Celebrating small achievements and recognizing improvement helped her stay motivated and encouraged her to keep going.
I can see how that positive mindset would be really helpful. It's amazing how much attitude and persistence can impact learning.
Definitely. Maya's story shows that with the right mindset and strategies, anyone can overcome challenges and achieve their language goals. It's all about finding what works for you and staying committed to the process.
Thanks for sharing all these insights, Sarah. It's really motivating to hear how Maya transformed her English skills and how her approach can be applied by others.
I'm glad you found it inspiring, Alex. Maya's journey is a testament to the power of dedication and creativity in language learning. I hope her story encourages others to pursue their own language goals with confidence.
Absolutely. I'm definitely taking some of these tips to heart. It's clear that consistent practice and a positive attitude can make a huge difference.
That's the spirit. If you ever need more advice or inspiration, just let me know. I'm always happy to share stories and tips to help with language learning.
Speaking of having fun, Sarah, do you remember that time when we tried to practice English by pretending we were tourists in our own city? That was such a blast, and it really pushed us to use English in a relaxed, real world setting.
Oh, I remember that. We decided to explore some local spots as if we were visiting for the first time, asking for directions, ordering food, and chatting with shop owners, all in English. It was such a great way to practice without feeling like we were in a classroom.
Exactly. It took the pressure off because we were just having fun, and it didn't feel like formal practice. Plus, it was a great way to use English in everyday situations. I think it really helped us get more comfortable with casual conversation.
Definitely. I think that's something listeners can try as well. You don't have to wait until you're traveling abroad to practice English. You can create those opportunities right where you are, whether it's exploring your city, talking to strangers in English, or even just going through your daily routine. There are so many chances to practice.
Absolutely, Sarah. And I think one of the key takeaways here is to be creative with your practice. Sometimes, stepping out of the usual learning methods can make a huge difference. It keeps things interesting and helps reinforce what you've learned.
That's so true, Alex. And speaking of creativity, another thing that really helped me was trying to think in English as much as possible. Instead of translating everything from my native language to English, I made a conscious effort to start thinking in English directly.
That's a great point, Sarah. Thinking in English can really speed up your fluency because it helps you get used to forming sentences and ideas in the language. It might be a bit challenging at first, but over time, it becomes more natural.
Exactly. It's like building a new habit. At first, you might catch yourself translating in your head, but with practice, thinking in English becomes second nature. And it doesn't have to be complex. Start with simple thoughts like planning your day or describing what you see around you.
Yes, and it's okay to start small. Even just naming objects around you in English is a great start. Over time, you can expand to full sentences and eventually start thinking about more abstract concepts in English.
Absolutely. And another tip I found helpful is to set specific goals for your practice. Instead of just saying, I want to improve my English, you could set a goal like, I want to be able to have a 5-minute conversation in English without switching to my native language.
That's a fantastic idea, Sarah. Setting specific achievable goals gives you something concrete to work towards. And when you reach those goals, it's incredibly motivating. It's like hitting milestones on your journey to fluency.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be just about speaking. You could set goals for listening, reading, or writing as well. For example, you might decide to listen to an English podcast for 15 minutes every day or read a short article in English every week.
Yes, diversifying your practice is so important. Each skill, speaking, listening, reading, and writing, reinforces the others. And by working on all of them, you're building a well rounded foundation in English.
Absolutely, Alex. And I think another important aspect is finding a community or a group of people who are also learning English. It's so helpful to have others to practice with and share the journey. It can be really motivating and supportive.
Definitely, Sarah. Having a language partner or a study group can make a huge difference. You can practice together, correct each other's mistakes, and share tips and resources. Plus, it's just more fun when you're not learning alone.
Absolutely. And even if you don't have a language partner, you can still practice with others in your community. Maybe there are local meetups or clubs where people gather to practice English. It's all about finding opportunities to use the language in real life situations.
Yes, and don't be afraid to start conversations, even with strangers. Most people are really understanding and appreciate the effort you're making to learn their language. It's all about putting yourself out there and taking those small steps outside of your comfort zone.
That's so true, Alex. The more you push yourself to speak, even in small ways, the more confident you'll become. It's like building muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. That's so true, Alex. The more you push yourself to speak, even in small ways, the more confident you'll become. It's like building muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Absolutely. And speaking of building confidence, let's talk about how to deal with moments of doubt or frustration. Because let's be real, there will be times when you feel like you're not making progress or when speaking English feels particularly difficult.
Oh, for sure. We've all been there. I think it's important to acknowledge those feelings and remind yourself that it's part of the learning process. Everyone has off days, but that doesn't mean you're not improving.
Exactly, Sarah. It's so important to be kind to yourself during those moments. Progress isn't always linear. There will be ups and downs. But every time you practice, even on the tough days, you're moving forward.
Yes. And sometimes taking a short break can actually help. If you're feeling frustrated, step away for a bit, do something you enjoy, and come back to it with a fresh mind. It's amazing how a little distance can give you a new perspective.
That's great advice, Sarah. And sometimes we just need to recharge. And when you come back, you might find that what seemed difficult before isn't so challenging after all. It's all about maintaining a positive mindset and being patient with yourself.
Absolutely. And another thing that helps is to reflect on how far you've come. Think about where you started and all the progress you've made. It's easy to focus on what you can't do yet, but it's important to celebrate what you can do now that you couldn't do before.
Yes, looking back at your progress can be so motivating. It reminds you that you're on the right track and that all your hard work is paying off. And sometimes, even just recognizing small improvements can give you that extra boost to keep going.
Definitely. It's all about perspective. And remember, language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time, but every step you take is bringing you closer to your goal.
That's so true, Sarah. And with that mindset, you can turn challenges into opportunities for growth. Every time you push through a difficult moment, you're building resilience and becoming a more confident speaker.
Absolutely, Alex. And that confidence will carry over into every aspect of your English communication. The more you practice, the more those difficult moments will start to feel like natural parts of the learning process.
Exactly. And remember, it's okay to ask for help when you need it. Whether it's asking someone to explain a word or concept you don't understand or getting feedback on your speaking, reaching out for support is a sign of strength, not weakness.
Yes, and people are usually more than happy to help. Most importantly, don't give up. Keep practicing, keep pushing yourself, and keep believing in your ability to learn. You've got this.
Absolutely, Sarah. So, to everyone listening, just keep going. Embrace the journey, enjoy the process, and know that with each practice session, you're getting closer to your goal of speaking English with confidence.
Some questions and answers related to the topic how to speak in English, with full explanations to help learners better understand the process of improving their English speaking skills.
What are the most effective ways to improve English speaking skills?
Improving English speaking skills involves consistent practice and exposure to the language. Here are some effective methods. Practice speaking regularly. The most important aspect of learning to speak English is to practice regularly. Engage in conversations with native speakers, language exchange partners, or even friends who are also learning English. This helps you become more comfortable with the language and improves your fluency. Think in English. Try to think in English instead of your native language. This habit reduces the time you need to translate your thoughts before speaking, making you more fluent and natural in conversations. Imitate native speakers. Listening to native speakers through movies, podcasts, or conversations, and mimicking their pronunciation, intonation, and sentence structures can significantly improve your speaking abilities. Use simple sentences. Start with simple sentences to express your thoughts. Over time, as you become more confident, you can gradually introduce more complex structures. The goal is to communicate effectively, not perfectly. Record yourself. Recording your speech allows you to listen to your pronunciation and fluency. It's a great way to self-assess and identify areas for improvement. Expand vocabulary. The more words you know, the easier it becomes to express your ideas. Learn new words daily and practice using them in sentences. Understanding synonyms and antonyms also helps you diversify your speech. Engage in role-playing. Role-playing different scenarios, such as ordering food at a restaurant or having a casual conversation, can prepare you for real-life situations. This kind of practice helps build confidence. Join speaking clubs. Many communities have English speaking clubs where you can practice your language skills with others. These clubs offer a supportive environment to improve your speaking without fear of making mistakes.
How can I overcome the fear of speaking in English?
Overcoming the fear of speaking in English is a common challenge for learners. Here are some strategies to help. Start small. Begin with simple, everyday conversations in English. This could be as simple as greeting someone or asking for directions. Starting small helps build your confidence gradually. Prepare in advance. If you know you'll need to speak English in a particular situation, prepare in advance. Think about the phrases or vocabulary you might need and practice them beforehand. This preparation reduces anxiety and helps you feel more confident. Embrace mistakes. Understand that making mistakes is a natural part of the learning process. Instead of fearing them, view mistakes as opportunities to learn and improve. Most people appreciate the effort you're making to speak in a second language, and won't judge you harshly for errors. Use positive affirmations. Practice positive self talk. Remind yourself that you are capable of learning English and that each conversation is a step forward. Positive affirmations can boost your confidence and reduce fear. Practice in a safe environment. Practice speaking in a comfortable setting where you feel less pressure, such as with friends or in front of a mirror. As you build confidence, gradually expand to more challenging environments. Focus on communication, not perfection. The primary goal of speaking a language is communication, not perfection. Focus on conveying your message rather than on speaking without any mistakes. Fluency and confidence come with time and practice. Seek constructive feedback. Ask for feedback from friends, teachers, or language partners who can provide constructive criticism. Knowing where you need to improve can help you focus your efforts and reduce anxiety about speaking.
Why is listening important in improving English speaking skills?
Listening plays a crucial role in improving English speaking skills for several reasons. Understanding pronunciation and intonation. By listening to native speakers, you can learn the correct pronunciation of words and understand the natural intonation patterns used in everyday conversations. This helps you mimic these patterns when you speak. Building vocabulary. Listening exposes you to new vocabulary in context, allowing you to understand how words are used in different situations. Over time, this exposure helps you incorporate new words into your own speech. Improving comprehension. The more you listen, the better your understanding of spoken English becomes. This improved comprehension enables you to respond more quickly and accurately in conversations, which is essential for fluency. Learning. Sentence structures. Listening to native speakers helps you learn common sentence structures and how they are used in conversation. This understanding can make it easier to construct your own sentences when speaking. Enhancing cultural understanding. Listening to native speakers also provides insight into cultural nuances, idiomatic expressions, and social norms, which are all important for effective communication in English. Active listening in conversations. In conversations, active listening is key to responding appropriately. By paying close attention to what the other person is saying, you can ask relevant questions, provide meaningful responses, and keep the conversation flowing smoothly.
How can I expand my English vocabulary to improve my speaking skills?
Expanding your vocabulary is essential for improving your speaking skills. Here are some strategies. Read regularly. Reading books, articles, and newspapers in English exposes you to new words and phrases. Take note of unfamiliar words. Look up their meanings and practice using them in sentences. Learn in context. Instead of memorizing word lists, learn vocabulary in context. Understand how words are used in sentences and the different nuances they can have. This approach helps you remember and use words more effectively. Use flashcards. Flashcards are a great tool for memorizing vocabulary. Write the word on one side and its meaning or an example sentence on the other. Regularly review your flashcards to reinforce your memory. Practice speaking with new words. Whenever you learn a new word, make it a point to use it in conversation. This practice helps solidify the word in your memory and improves your ability to use it naturally. Engage in themed conversations. Focus on specific themes or topics when expanding your vocabulary. For example, if you're learning words related to travel, practice conversations about travel plans, destinations, and experiences. This thematic approach helps you remember and apply vocabulary more effectively. Learn synonyms and antonyms. Understanding the synonyms and antonyms of a word expands your vocabulary and gives you more options for expressing your ideas. This diversity in language use makes your speech more dynamic and engaging. Use a vocabulary journal. Keep a journal where you write down new words, their meanings, and example sentences. Regularly review your journal to reinforce your learning and track your progress.
How important is pronunciation in speaking English fluently, and how can I improve it?
Pronunciation is a critical component of speaking English fluently. Good pronunciation helps you communicate more clearly and effectively. Here's why it's important and how you can improve it. Clarity in communication. Proper pronunciation ensures that others can understand you easily. Mispronouncing words can lead to misunderstandings, even if your grammar and vocabulary are correct. Confidence in speaking. When you know how to pronounce words correctly, you feel more confident in your speech. This confidence allows you to focus on the content of your conversation rather than worrying about how you sound. Improved listening skills. Working on your pronunciation also enhances your listening skills. As you become more familiar with how words should sound, it becomes easier to understand others, especially native speakers. Strategies to improve pronunciation. Listen and imitate. Listen to native speakers and try to imitate their pronunciation. Pay attention to how they articulate sounds, their intonation, and stress patterns. You can do this by watching English movies, listening to podcasts, or engaging in conversations. Practice phonetics. Learn the phonetic alphabet and the sounds associated with each letter. Understanding phonetics helps you break down words into their individual sounds, making it easier to pronounce them correctly. Record and compare. Record yourself speaking and compare your pronunciation to that of native speakers. This self-assessment can help you identify areas where you need to improve. Focus on problem sounds. Every language learner has certain sounds that are more difficult to pronounce. Identify these sounds and practice them repeatedly. For example, if the th sound is challenging, practice words like think, this, and thought. Use tongue. Twisters. Tongue twisters are a fun way to practice pronunciation. They challenge you to articulate words clearly and quickly, helping you improve your pronunciation and fluency. Get feedback. Don't hesitate to ask for feedback from native speakers or teachers. They can point out pronunciation errors you might not notice and help you correct them.
How can I practice English speaking if I don't have a language partner or native speakers to talk to?
Practicing English speaking without a language partner or native speakers might seem challenging, but there are several effective strategies you can use. Self-talk. Engage in self-talk by narrating your actions, thoughts, or surroundings in English. For example, describe what you're doing as you cook a meal, or talk about your plans for the day. This practice helps you think in English and improves your fluency. Mirror. Practice. Stand in front of a mirror and have conversations with yourself. This technique allows you to practice speaking while observing your facial expressions and body language, making your speech more natural and confident. Shadowing technique. Listen to English audio, such as podcasts or dialogues, and repeat what you hear immediately after the speaker. Try to match their tone, speed, and pronunciation. This method, known as shadowing, helps improve pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm in speech. Voice recording. Record yourself speaking on various topics. Pick a subject, set a timer for a few minutes, and talk about it without stopping. Then, listen to the recording to identify areas where you can improve, such as pronunciation, grammar, or vocabulary. Language challenges. Set specific speaking challenges for yourself, such as talking about a new topic each day or explaining a concept in English. These challenges keep your practice varied and engaging, helping you to build confidence over time. Imaginary conversations. Create imaginary conversations with fictional characters, historical figures, or even people you know. Practice asking and answering questions as if you were having a real conversation. This helps you think quickly in English and prepares you for actual interactions. Reading aloud. Choose a book, an article, or script and read it aloud. This practice not only improves your pronunciation and intonation, but also helps you get comfortable with speaking in English.
What role does grammar play in speaking English, and how can I improve my spoken grammar?
Grammar is an essential component of speaking English, as it helps you construct clear and correct sentences. However, when speaking, the focus should be on communication rather than perfect grammar. Here's how you can improve your spoken grammar. Learn common structures. Focus on mastering the most common grammatical structures used in everyday conversation, such as present, past, and future tenses. Understanding these basics will help you form correct sentences quickly. Practice with sentences. Instead of studying grammar rules in isolation, practice them by constructing sentences. For example, if you're learning the past tense, make sentences like, I went to the store yesterday, or she finished her homework last night. This helps you apply grammar rules in context. Use grammar in conversations. Make a conscious effort to use the grammar structures you're learning during conversations. For instance, if you've been studying conditional sentences, try to incorporate them into your speech. If I had more time, I would travel more. Listen and learn. Pay attention to how native speakers use grammar in conversation. Listening to real-life examples helps you understand how grammar is applied naturally, which can differ from textbook rules. Focus on communication. When speaking, don't worry too much about making grammatical mistakes. The goal is to communicate your message effectively. Over time, with more practice and exposure, your grammar will naturally improve. Review and reflect. After having a conversation, take a moment to reflect on your use of grammar. If you notice any mistakes, make a note of them and practice the correct structure later. This self-review process helps reinforce your learning.
How can I develop better fluency in English speaking?
Fluency in English speaking means being able to communicate smoothly and without hesitation. Here are some tips to develop better fluency. Practice regularly. Fluency comes with consistent practice. The more you speak, the more natural it becomes. Make it a habit to practice speaking English daily, even if it's just for a few minutes. Focus on speaking, not thinking. To be fluent, try to speak without overthinking. The goal is to let the words flow naturally. You can practice this by engaging in free speaking exercises where you talk about a topic without pausing to plan your sentences. Start with simple sentences. Don't worry about using complex sentence structures right away. Start with simple sentences and gradually build up to more complex ones as your confidence grows. Fluency is about ease of communication, not complexity. Practice with timed conversations. Set a timer and speak on a topic for 1 or 2 minutes without stopping. This forces you to keep speaking without pausing to think, which can help you develop the ability to speak more fluidly. Expand your vocabulary. A broad vocabulary allows you to express your thoughts more easily and quickly, which is key to fluency. Learn new words and phrases regularly and practice using them in conversation. Imitate natural speech patterns. Listen to native speakers and try to imitate their speech patterns, including their rhythm and intonation. This can help you develop a more natural speaking style. Engage in real conversations. The best way to improve fluency is through real conversations with others. If you don't have access to native speakers, find a language partner or join a speaking group where you can practice.
How can I improve my confidence in speaking English?
Building confidence in speaking English is crucial for effective communication. Here are strategies to help you boost your confidence. Prepare for conversations. Before entering an English speaking situation, prepare some phrases or topics you can talk about. Knowing that you have something to say can reduce anxiety and boost your confidence. Start in comfortable settings. Begin by speaking English in low pressure environments, such as with friends or in situations where mistakes are more acceptable. As you build confidence, gradually move to more challenging situations. Celebrate small wins. Acknowledge your progress, no matter how small. Whether it's successfully ordering food in English or holding a short conversation, celebrate these victories to boost your confidence. Face your fears gradually. If you're nervous about speaking English, start by facing your fears in small doses. For example, you might start by asking a question in English at a store, and as you gain confidence, engage in longer conversations. Practice with positive affirmations. Remind yourself that you are capable of learning English and that mistakes are a part of the process. Positive self talk can help build your confidence and reduce fear. Focus on the message, not the mistakes. When speaking, focus on the message you want to convey rather than on potential mistakes. This shift in focus helps reduce self consciousness and allows you to speak more confidently. Engage in group activities. Participate in group discussions or speaking clubs where everyone is learning. Speaking in a supportive group can help reduce the fear of judgment and build your confidence.
How can I maintain consistency in practicing English speaking?
Consistency is key to mastering any skill, including English speaking. Here's how you can maintain a consistent practice routine. Set realistic goals. Start with achievable goals, such as speaking English for 10 minutes a day. As you get into the habit, gradually increase the time and complexity of your practice sessions. Create a routine. Incorporate English speaking practice into your daily routine. Whether it's during your morning commute, while cooking dinner, or before bed, having a specific time each day dedicated to speaking English helps maintain consistency. Track your progress. Keep a journal or use a tracker to record your daily practice. Tracking your progress can motivate you to keep going and helps you see how far you've come. Stay engaged with fun activities. Keep your practice sessions engaging by incorporating activities you enjoy, such as discussing topics you're passionate about, role-playing scenarios, or practicing with friends. The more enjoyable the practice, the easier it is to stay consistent. Find a practice partner. Having a language partner can help you stay accountable. Schedule regular practice sessions with them, which encourages both of you to stay consistent. Mix up your practice methods. To avoid burnout, vary your practice methods. One day you might focus on conversation, another day on vocabulary, and another on pronunciation. Variety keeps your practice fresh and interesting. Set reminders. Use reminders or alarms on your phone to prompt you to practice English. Consistent nudges help reinforce the habit of regular practice.
How can I improve my English speaking skills if I'm shy or introverted?
For those who are shy or introverted, speaking English can feel particularly daunting. However, there are strategies you can use to improve your speaking skills while working within your comfort zone. Start with one-on-one conversations. Instead of diving into group discussions, start by practicing with one person. This could be a friend, a tutor, or a language partner. One-on-one conversations tend to be less intimidating and allow you to build confidence gradually. Prepare in advance. If you know you'll need to speak English in a particular situation, prepare your thoughts and phrases beforehand. This can reduce anxiety and help you feel more confident during the conversation. Use structured speaking activities. Engage in structured activities like scripted dialogues or language exchange sessions, where the focus is on specific topics. This provides a clear framework and reduces the pressure to come up with spontaneous speech. Practice with technology. If speaking to people feels overwhelming, start by using voice recognition software, language apps, or recording yourself. These methods allow you to practice speaking in a low pressure environment. Set small, achievable goals. Set small, manageable goals, such as greeting someone in English or asking a simple question. As you achieve these goals, your confidence will grow, making it easier to take on more challenging speaking tasks. Gradually expand your comfort zone. Push yourself slightly beyond your comfort zone over time. For example, if you're comfortable speaking with one person, try joining a small group discussion next. Gradual exposure helps you build confidence without overwhelming yourself. Focus on your strengths. Emphasize the aspects of English that you are good at, such as vocabulary or listening skills. This positive reinforcement can boost your confidence and make speaking less intimidating. Practice speaking in private. Engage in private practice, such as talking to yourself, practicing in front of a mirror, or recording your voice. These activities help you become more comfortable with the sound of your own voice in English, reducing self-consciousness.
How can I improve my English speaking skills for professional settings?
Improving English speaking skills for professional settings requires a focus on both fluency and formality. Here's how you can enhance your skills for the workplace. Learn industry-specific vocabulary. Familiarize yourself with the specific terminology used in your field. This includes technical terms, jargon, and common phrases. Knowing these words allows you to communicate more effectively with colleagues and clients. Practice formal speech. Professional settings often require a more formal tone. Practice using formal language by participating in mock meetings, giving presentations, or writing and reading out professional emails. This helps you adjust to the level of formality expected in the workplace. Engage in professional role-playing. Role-play common workplace scenarios, such as meetings, interviews, or negotiations. This helps you prepare for real-life situations and become more comfortable speaking in a professional context. Focus on clarity and conciseness. In professional settings, it's important to communicate your ideas clearly and concisely. Practice speaking in a way that is direct and to the point, avoiding unnecessary fillers or overly complex language. Develop presentation skills. If your job requires presentations, practice your public speaking skills. Focus on organizing your thoughts logically, using appropriate language, and maintaining good body language. Rehearsing in front of a mirror or recording yourself can help refine these skills. Participate in meetings. Get involved in meetings, even if it's just to ask a question or offer a brief comment. The more you practice speaking in professional settings, the more confident and fluent you'll become. Seek feedback from colleagues. Ask trusted colleagues or mentors for feedback on your English speaking skills. They can provide valuable insights into areas where you can improve, such as pronunciation, clarity, or the appropriateness of your language. Attend workshops or seminars. Participate in workshops or seminars that focus on communication skills, particularly in a professional context. These can provide structured opportunities to practice and improve your English speaking abilities.
How can I maintain motivation while learning to speak English?
Maintaining motivation is crucial when learning to speak English, especially as progress can sometimes feel slow. Here are strategies to keep yourself motivated. Set clear, achievable goals. Break your learning journey into small, manageable goals, such as learning a set number of new words each week or practicing speaking for a certain amount of time daily. Achieving these small goals provides a sense of accomplishment and keeps you motivated. Track your progress. Keep a record of your progress, whether it's through a journal, a language learning app, or a simple checklist. Seeing how far you've come can boost your motivation and encourage you to keep going. Celebrate milestones. Celebrate your successes, no matter how small. Whether it's completing a conversation without hesitation or learning a new set of vocabulary, acknowledging these milestones helps reinforce your progress. Stay connected with your goals. Remind yourself why you started learning English in the first place. Whether it's for career advancement, travel, or personal growth, keeping your end goal in mind can help you stay focused and motivated.